To say I was ecstatic to see this poster would be an understatement. The hype train is back because Blue Lock Season 2 is here and it's gonna be top tier. If you thought Season 1 was amazing, you've seen nothing, as Blue Lock's best game and arc will be the main focus of this season. And trust me when I tell you, nothing will prepare you for this. The shocking turn of events, the crazy pacing, and the much higher level this game will be at. All of these factors and more assemble to give us the best sports experience in anime hands down, so let's talk about it. First we have to figure out how many episodes should be in Season 2, and of course it goes without saying this video will be filled with spoilers. So if you are an anime only fan, then be wary. Alright, looking at Season 1, it had 24 episodes and ended exactly with the end of Volume 11 and the U20 game cliffhanger. Now if we exclude the first, which only had 4 chapters, each volume is exactly 9. This amounts to about 94 chapters covered, minus the Kunigami vs Shido stuff. We could safely say it was 93, and so each episode would have covered roughly 4 chapters, give or take, with some of the slowed-paced and laid-back episodes covering just about 3. So what does this mean for us and for Season 2? Well, if we say it will be just 12 episodes with the same pacing, that would equate to about 47 chapters or roughly 5 volumes, which would put us at covering Volume 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. This would be the worst of decisions. The U20 game is spread over 5 volumes itself, with the 17th being the most important. You have to remember that Bachira, Rin and Sai's awakening all happened here. Rin's berserker states and Isegi's canon, the most important goal in all of Blue Lock, all happened in volume 17. It just doesn't make sense for this season not to include these impactful moments and just end on Baro's equalizer. Also, I say there is no way they could squeeze volume 17 in these 12 episodes, as it would really mess the pacing of the most important game and arc in this series, and so I feel the idea is far-fetched. Okay, so what about 24 episodes, like Season 1? That would lead us to cover upwards of 10 volumes, which would put us at the 22nd, maybe 23rd if they play their cards right. And honestly, this doesn't sound really bad. It would be around where the Manshine City game ended, with Isegi just reaching a new level through Metavision, and would hype the Ubers and PXG games for Season 3, which are arguably the toughest 2 games in the series. However, from a business point of view, this doesn't sound great as well. It honestly would be cutting Isegi and Kaiser's rivalry half the way through, which isn't really a great idea. To be honest, I think the whole NEL should happen in a singular season, and should not be split. And so, if that's far-fetched too, what options do we have left? Well, we can have the Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 treatment, where the first few episodes, 4 or 5, cover the third selection, given that it is only about 2 games and few spots. Then we move to the second part, which will be up to like the 17th or 16th episode. And then we can have like 2 or 3 episodes more where they cover the aftermath of the U20 game, given that there is a volume vacant after it. This way, I think they could give more light to cool spots and goals while still keeping the game with the same pacing. I think this is the best option for the studio, and also not stretching the season to 24 would mean higher production, no stupid CGI, and no slideshows like the second part of Season 1. But now that we have a roadmap for the episodes and what will this season cover, let's figure out what will every episode probably cover, starting up straight with Episode 1. Here, obviously I'd say this episode would start with a recap. But then I'll actually throw a curveball and say it will move to Kunigami and Ryo vs Shido, and to know how Kunigami got eliminated and him seeing the wildcard path. I'd say this and the recap will take a good part of the episode, and then it will end with the whole top 6 and teams A, B and C, as well as deciding who will go to what team, which means it will probably end with the scene of Ryo and Isegi deciding to follow their own paths. And this actually would be only the 2 first chapters of Volume 12, in addition to the whole Kunigami story of course. Episode 2 will start with announcing the players, what teams they chose and who will face who first, as well as covering a good part of the first game. I would say up to Rin's Predator Eye's goal, and ends with him showing why he is number 1. This means it will probably be chapter 97, 98 and 99. I know 3 chapters, but they had 4 goals, so I guess they are packed with hype and would fill an episode no problem. For episode 3, it will carry on with the game until the end, with Isegi using Metavision to beat both Rin and Shido, covering 4 chapters from the 100th to 103. I just know an episode like this would send the community into a blaze, and it's just perfect because it also fits with the ending of the volume. Episode 4 should be about the aftermath of the game, as well as Hiyori and Isagi's flourishing friendship. And I even think the anime should focus on this aspect a bit more than the manga to set up the Metavision duo. More importantly, the episode needs to shift gear towards Ryo's desperation and eventually awakening with his chameleon style, ending with this beautiful scene which is at the end of chapter 106. 3 chapters again, but if they play their cards right, this episode could be really well done, and all about character building for the 2 subs in the U20 game. Next, episode 5. This one is so crucial as it marks the transition between the 3rd selection and the U20 game. But more importantly, this episode will be all about Blue Lock 11 team's formation, which is the most important thing from this volume. But first, it will start with the aftermath of the 3rd selection, Shido and Rin's fall off and Sai choosing the Dragon Boy. And much like the episode before it will be 3 chapters as well. But given the importance of these events and their slow pace, I think it's going to be just great. And so episode 5 will cover chapters 107 to 109 and ends with hyping the NEL beyond the U20 game. In any case, episode 6 will be starting with a funny scene of Sai and Shido violating poor Sendo and getting stopped by Aiku and the U20 defenders. However, instead of ending with the volume after 3 chapters and with them getting into the biggest stage scene, instead I think they might extend it to cover the first chapter of volume 14, which has the start of the U20 game. This might seem weird to you guys, but they have always done this in season 1, both in the 1st and 2nd selection, and if we actually look at how chapter 1013 ends, it makes more sense they will do that. Because this chapter ends with Aiku destroying both Isagi and Bachira with his snake defending, and setting up the main rivalry between the thieves and the cops, and having Isagi and Aiku do their iconic standoff that has been edited by the community into oblivion at this point. I believe this way they can really hype the U20 game, while giving us a taste of the new level that the Blue Lockers need to face and overcome in order to win this crucial once-in-a-lifetime match. Episode 7 will be the real start of the game, with chapters 114 to 117 covering the 2 first goals from Sai and Nagi, and ending with Nagi's fist raised up. And then episode 8 will be 4 chapters as well, from 118 to 121. Ending with the volume itself, the first half, and Aryu's clutch that made sure the Blue Lock had the advantage going into the break, and the closing scene being Shido's sadistic look, knowing that he will get subbed in. Episode 9 will start slow with the aftermath of the first half, and with Sai leaving, and then Aiku gambling on Shido. Then it gets deep into Rin's past and Sai's betrayal, covering 4 chapters as well, ending with Isagi waking up Rin to prepare for round goddamn 2. For episode 10, I think chapters 126, 127 and 128 will be covered, given that this is the first Sai and Shido link up and they score the insane goal with Chigure and Nico's injury, and there will be plenty for this episode to cover. Episode 11 as well will be another 3 chapters, covering Blue Lock's desperation, Shido's world-class goal, and Ego unleashing his trump card Baro, ending with this bone-hollowing iconic scene. Also, this volume is 10 chapters long and not 9, and the episode will end with it as well. Episode 12 on the other hand will be 4 chapters, from 132 to 135, covering Blue Lock's dominance over the U20 team after Baro got in, and how Aiku's Metavision was the only reason they held. Then episode 13 will be fitting to be Baro's episode since he has number 13 in this game. Much like season 1, episode 18 was his time to shine since he had that number, and so this episode will cover his goal and the aftermath in chapter 138 and ends with Rin feeling that he is being slowly devoured. And if you thought episode 13 is crazy, episode 14 will be on an equal caliber, as it will cover chapters 139 to 142, and will be all about 2 of the biggest violations in Blue Lock, Sai and Bachira's awakening, which will make it a very action heavy and very fast paced episode, that will end with Rin stopping Aiku's shot. Episode 15 as well will be on an equal level of crazy, covering chapters 143 to 146, which means it will be all about Rin going into madness, and ends with his face-off with his brother as the ultimate cliffhanger. And then episode 16 comes and blows everything up, completing the volume and covering Isagi's goal as well as the immediate aftermath of the game, and then having an insane cliffhanger in Kunigami emerging of the wildcard training. Then the studio can give us episode 17, 18 and 19 by covering volume 18, introducing us to the Neo Egoist League and hype it up with the introduction of Noah, Snuffy and Kaiser. Or since volume 18 is a laid back one, they could leave it for season 3 to be its opening, but I doubt it. Season 3 has the impossible mission of covering the entire NEL, and so I think the smart thing to do is to cover volume 18 in season 2 and ending it with the introductions I mentioned before. But with that being said, that's it for the video guys. Let me know what do you think of this and what are your thoughts on how many chapters this season will cover. And until next time, thank you for watching.